Jallo, and you are watching Sheffield Live. And this is African Voices, a show where we discuss some of the issues affecting Africans in this country and abroad. And on today's show, we will be discussing about the ongoing protest or the ongoing uprising in Sudan. However, before we start, I would like to introduce the people here tonight with me to help us talk about this topic. Next to my left is nobody but our political analyst, that is Chiwe Chihana, who many of you will know. Hello, Chiwe.
Hi there, Bailo.
And next to Chiwe are our guest tonight, that is Wida Suleiman Abdullah, who is a Sudanese living here in Sheffield and also a political activist. Welcome, Mr. Abdullah.
Welcome.
And next to Mr. Abdullah is Alia Adam, who is a student that recently came back from Sudan. She was on holiday, but she got caught up on the protest that is happening there. So welcome, Alia, as well.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, we'll be discussing about the protest in Sudan. However, before we get to the bigger picture, last weekend, hundreds of Sudanese people were at the Sheffield City Center protesting against the government of Omar al-Bashir. As many of you will know, Mr. Bashir has been ruling for nearly 30 years. And in that 30 years, or 29 years to be specific, nobody has dared to protest against him. But recently, that has started. And people are uprising. People are rising against him. They are saying he must go. The protest started about a month ago and has attracted many people across the country. In all towns and cities, people are rising. They are saying he must go. So in solidarity, the people who are in the diaspora, some of the Sudanese, like here in Sheffield, who are here, they were out in their numbers protesting that he must go, and they were standing in solidarity with the people back home. So the organizer, or one of the organizers of the protest that happened here in Sheffield, was Mr. Abdullah here, who is here today. So Mr. Abdullah, if we may start with that protest, can we start? What was the reason for your protest, to be specific?
The main reason was support for, Sudanese, those who are protesting on the ground there. And when the protest started in Sudan, it was in the 19th of December. And it's one of the biggest challenge for this al-Bashir since he came to the power. So, like, the protest started in the North Sudan, in Atbara, and it spread all over Sudan. So we as a Sudanese here in Sheffield, we feel that we have to do something about it, and we have to support people there.
So, if I'm being honest here, your protest was one of the most successful African protests that I've ever attended here in Sheffield. You were out in numbers, like I mentioned at the beginning. Yeah. There were women, children, young men, young girls, including Alia here. So how did you do it to bring out everyone? If we can just, for our viewers to look at the protest to know what we are talking about, so that you can tell us how did you do to bring everyone on board?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, when the protest started in Sudan, and it was a real revolution, and it is till now. And people all over the world, Sudanese all over the world, they started feeling that this is the chance so that we can withdraw al-Bashir from power and build a real Sudan and united Sudan. So we here in Sheffield, as Sudanese, we had the same feeling as, everybody felt it. So, and we decided to make this protest. And mainly I started just like one of my friends, we say, why don't we do something about what's going on in Sudan? Mm-hmm. How can we support them? What should we do? So initially we started with a WhatsApp group. And then we add some Sudanese people, like especially young people in here and families. Uh-huh. So And we started discussing about what should we do about the protests in Sudan and to support the people in Sudan. How can we start here in Sheffield? Then I started chasing it, and I didn't know even where to start. I went to the council, and I asked them, what should I do to make a protest, and where should I get the permission to do it? So I started from there, and then through that I get, many phone numbers, and I get to know many people who I can get in touch with them to make it possible. So, and that's it. That's how we do it. And I mean, I'm very thankful for the Sudanese who it was unbelievable, it was very short notice. We asked them to come to the process, and all of them, they turn up. I mean, most of them, I will say it's 70% of the Sudanese people who are here in Sheffield. So yeah, it was really successful.
Before I bring Alia in, Kire, what's your take on the protest?
I really actually think it's impressive how you managed to organize the community, and also actually I'm quite pleased that there were quite a lot of women and children involved there, young people. I think often when we have solidarity with what's going on at home, it's quite rare that we can unite as well as you guys did. So I'd like to find out, how did your group, your age group, Alia, you're quite young, you're a student, and so sort of the next generation that could take things like this forward, how did you get involved in this?
I think my dad came to me like a day before, and he asked me to make posters because I'm good at art. He asked me to just do some stuff for him. So me and my sister went over to their house, and we were just talking, spitballing ideas, and then doing the posters, and then we tried to email the mayor as well. So we just wrote up some stuff, and and then coming to the protest, I was actually so surprised at how many people came out, especially young people, because with the Sudanese community, I don't really find there's a lot of people my age. It's usually little kids or adults. Yeah. So when I looked around and I saw a lot of young men, I was really surprised. And I was everyone came out, everyone had energy. It was amazing.
Well done, you. So does the actual essence of the protest resonate with you as a young person growing up in the United Kingdom? How does that relate to your everyday existence here?
Being from a different country and living here, it kind of becomes a bit washed out. So you start to become more involved with the culture here, and you start to forget about your culture back home. But then when you're surrounded by people from your country, it kind of helps to spark that light again. And especially with the protests, just seeing the amount of people that came out and the people that wanted to support, even people who weren't Sudanese were standing with us and wanted to protest and wanted to know about the protest. Quite a lot of people came up to me and was what's this protest about? What are you guys doing? And it was trying to explain to them what's happening, making more of an awareness. So yeah.
Abdullah, you said you started organizing the protest at a very short notice.
Yeah.
But more than 200 people turned up.
Yeah.
Were you surprised to see that many numbers?
Yeah, even me, I was surprised. But compared to what is going on in Sudan, people are sacrificing their life. So I was expecting people to turn out because we have families, families are there. And as I mentioned, it's a really big chance for Sudanese to check al-Bashir from power. So everyone is feeling that, having the feeling of that they need to work hard to push him away from the power.
I interviewed you on that day.
Yeah.
And you said the main aim for the protest was to raise awareness, and you were asking the British government to get involved in order to help kind of fuel a regime change in Sudan. Do you think your aim was achieved there by raising the awareness? Because Alia mentioned there were a lot of people, passers-by, asking you what was happening, and you explaining to them this is the reason why we're here. So you kind of raise a lot of awareness?
I mean, it sent message, but it's the kind of intervention for the Europe governments which you want in Sudan. It's just like al-Bashir is International Criminal Court wanted president. So, I mean, they should stop, you know, like they have some deals, as I mentioned last time. They feel that Bashir will stop refugees coming from Africa to here, because people cross from Eritrea and Ethiopia through Sudan to Libya, and then they come to Europe. So the governments in Europe, they think that, you know, they have a deal with al-Bashir that he should.
Is there any evidence to that?
Yeah, there are evidence, but I don't have evidence right now here, but there's evidence for that. And there.
Well, let's stick to the one that we might have evidence on.
Yeah.
The protests and what happened here in Sheffield. So Chiwe, like we discussed already, it was one of the most successful ones so far in Sheffield. But in terms of Sudan, when you think of Sudan, a lot of images come into mind, because looking at it, it's a country that has had quite a lot of ups and downs, you know, most recently the Darfur region, and recently as well the independence of South Sudan. So you as a researcher, how will you describe this country? How will you say how Omar al-Bashir has been succeeding to keep everyone quiet until this time?
Okay. Thanks for asking that, actually. So for me, Sudan is a country that I consider to be the gold that could have made that particular region the golden apple, in terms of the resources that actually it has and the potential it has for wealth gain. But as far as al-Bashir is concerned, my take on that is that there's this clientage culture. So what the al-Bashir government has actually done the last 29 years is they've used what is the country's resources for their own gain, in the sense that they've captured the state in using those resources, such that there is no room for an uprising that could actually take hold, because those resources are used against the actual people that they should actually be benefiting, which is quite terrible, actually. And within that,
which is the case for many African countries. Which is
the case for several African countries. But al-Bashir has also got a hold on the army. So him and his cronies actually use the state resources, state military equipment against their own citizens, and that makes it an even more difficult situation for them to come out of. But in terms of what's happening right now, the protests, I believe, they're obviously the most significant. There have been other significant ones, but these ones have lasted longer, and I think there's more resilience. So it started off as a socio-economic, actually predominantly economic protest, isn't it? Where people were complaining about the rising prices as well as inflation, and then it grew to become a protest where people are actually saying, we don't want the al-Bashir government, and it's coming from the grassroots. So it's coming from the people, it's mobilized so much, and it's hitting home here across the field, and I think that's what we are now.
Aliyah, let's come back to Sheffield. Well, before I get back to that, I will say you were one of the protesters here in Sheffield. So you've just come back as well from Sudan. I know it was your dad that told you to do everything that you did. But will you say, because the protest started when you were on holiday in Sudan, what you saw there, the way things were unfolding, also motivated you to join the protest here in Sheffield?
Yeah, I felt really bad, because, you know, we get comfortable now living here, and then going over there, it was complete culture shock to the way they lived there, and seeing everything that was happening, people fighting for their lives and fighting for their families. Like, fuel is like almost gone. There's like gigantic lines for petrol. For bread, you might stand from morning until evening just to get a couple pieces of bread. And then coming back here, it was just like, I felt not right not coming to the protest. Like, they need our support from here, because there's so much they can do there, but if we can come and get people here as well to make noise, and for governments to start looking, and hopefully to get the UN involved and other people, then yeah, so having support here as well as supporting there is definitely something that we need.
Will you say the way you saw things back home, you coming back now here, have changed a lot the way you perceive things?
No, definitely. Like, I'm so much more grateful now for the lot of things I have, because something as simple as like being able to just go to the bathroom and it just being in my house. I don't have to step outside. I don't have to worry about electricity cutting out or like water cutting out as much, and being able to just like go and get food from the fridge or like from the cupboard, being able to go to the shops and get bread, and it being very cheap here, because over there it's so much more money just to get a couple pieces of bread. That's why one of the main reasons the protest has really started rising, because of the inflation. Like buying simple bread, it's like say imagine £20 here for just a simple loaf of bread. No one would buy that, but you need bread to live, you need bread to survive. So yeah.
I was going to ask as well, what happened is, I believe the president, after the December, sort of 28th of December protests, the president declared a state of emergency, Omar al-Bashir, and also access to internet was restricted.
Yeah.
How did you, for example, and other people from Sudan across the world manage to still tap into what was going on? And I think I see a spirit of resilience, because the protests did not die down and we still got some information out there. How did you do that?
I mean, when they started restricting the internet, they were like Sudanese professional, you know, they are professional in these technology things. So they were able to provide them with like a private internet coverage.
Yeah.
So that helped people, and in the social media we've been like, you know, talking to the people that you can use, you know, this private internet to. And also people can just, you know, ring them directly and talk to them. So people are complaining like to have like 1,000 Sudanese from outside ring per day inside Sudan, so to talk about the people and to see what's going on there.
Great.
So
just to tap into that, when you mentioned about social media, social media played a key role in the Arab upspring, and now it is playing a key role as well. Will you say social media is kind of like, in terms of percentage, you will say it's contributing 80% towards the uprising?
Till now, it's like almost 90% of the, because this is the only means which you are using now, you know, like to make our voices heard and to follow what is going on in the ground there, because all the, you know, the media, the mainstream media in Sudan, they're controlled by the regime. So, you know, while people are protesting and dying, they're just, you know, like doing songs, and so they're hosting marriages and this kind of thing. So they don't like cover, even they're trying to deceive the people there that there is no things going on here in Sudan.
Right.
So it's played very big role, the media, the social media.
So to both, this is another sort of dimension to this that I wanted to find out from both of you, actually. So the president, Omar al-Bashir himself, has come out. Obviously, naturally, he would condemn the protests because they're against his government. But he's come out and said they're internationally sponsored. But I'm also quite aware that this time around we haven't had a big voice from the international community in terms of the United States government, who have previously spoken out a lot when Sudan has had these things going on. The UK government as well has not spoken out much. We've had more say, I think, from international media and international non-government organizations. But what's your take on that? This again feels very much like a people-led protest. What do you think about Omar Bashir's position that the protests are funded?
I mean, they started with a very big lie when the protest started. They accused, you know, one of the, their foreign leaders, who is Abdul Wahid. They say he's the one who trained people in Israel to come and start, you know, like campaigning for protests in Sudan. But like it was a big lie, nobody believed it, because It started in I mean the hometown of the president himself, so it was not started in Darfur. But what they were trying, you know, the message which they were trying to send it was like they want to say for northerners that, you know, people from Darfur, they are rebels and they're coming to kill you and they're coming to loot your houses and such kind of thing, but they didn't succeed in that. So
Alia, yourself, looking at the question that Chiwe just asked, you were there.
Yeah.
You saw the way things were unfolding. Did you participate into any, or when you were there, what did you really see? Were you frightened at all?
I remember the first time I heard about it, we were just sat in the house, outside the house, and I remember seeing like a big van kind of like just rush past, and we heard shouting and screaming, and I was shocked. I didn't know what happened. And then my dad said something about the universities are uprising, and the police and the military are like literally circling the university, not letting anyone leave. And I remember for like the next couple of days, everyone was just trying to see how their kids were. People were calling their family members, telling them what happened, and they was trying to. Dads were wanting to go to get their children, but they weren't able to. They weren't allowed. And I remember hearing about the universities. Like apparently, the boys wanted to get into the protests, and they were mad at the girls for not getting involved as well. So they went and they kind of like destroyed some of the girls' canteens and stuff like that. And then the police came, and it was just crazy. Like a lot of the people have gotten tired because it's been like 30 years. That's what everyone kept telling me. Like it's been 30 years they've been living like this. So they kind of come to a point where it's like you can take so much, and especially with like things just as basic necessities like being like sparse and being expensive. It's not a way to live, and everyone's kind of come to that point where like we're tired of this now. Something needs to change. And with the fact there's been 2 successful protests, like revolutions in the past, people know that when they stand together, something can change. But we need everyone to stand together. And the fact that like literally by mid-Sudan, 15 out of like 18 of the states actually started into the protest movement is a big deal. Like it shows that it wasn't just one part of Sudan was like, you know what, we don't like this. It was most of Sudan being like, we're tired of this guy, this government, we're tired of these people. Yeah, it's enough.
Did you realize as well that these current protests did not start from Khartoum, where you usually expect
it didn't start now.
So it started from
the other little cities and the villages.
It started from the far north, and it's like on the 19th it was in Atbara, the far north, and in the 20th it was in Damazin, which is like in the eastern, bordering Ethiopia, and then it spread to the middle of the country. So I mean, Sudanese are not used to this one, but this is really, I mean, it's a new for Sudanese, but the good thing is...
Just briefly though, will you say, because we've got less than a minute to go, will you say the government was caught off guard?
I think so, definitely, because one minute you could still walk in the streets and the protests were happening, next minute the military, like literally even in the villages outskirts, there was police and military with big guns ready for anything happening, because people were like really coming out of their houses and like coming out late, and today had the curfew, everyone had to be home at 6 o'clock, so Well,
we'll just stop there for now. We'll go for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon.